Hi, hello. Welcome to the episode of Isaiah's Newsstand. It's your host, Isaiah Edwards. The date is September the 8th, 2025. Hopefully, this episode finds you well, in good spirits, and high hopes. As for me, I'm doing pretty good. Happy Monday. Happy Garfield Day to you. Hopefully, you got that lasagna today. Hopefully, you got, second helpings? Hopefully, you got 2 passes at it. I would love that for you. I would say for me, it's been a good day. I've enjoyed myself. Even though we went to work, we did the damn thing. It was good. It was a good day. And I'll take that for a Monday. But yeah, we can just go ahead and do the rundown. I will say, though, we can kind of rewind to last night. Didn't do too much. I will say a bit of food corner. We added bacon to our meal. I got some bacon from the store. I was just kind of craving it. Though I realize I've had bacon at random intervals. So like either on a pizza, on a burger. So it's like, I know I've been eating bacon. But, back in the day, longtime listeners will know, I used to have bacon all the time with my burgers. And it was just such a norm to have that with my meals one way or another, whatever I was making. So kind of nice to have that back on the house. I will say though, I added like a couple pieces to just my chicken rice bowl situation. It was very good, very yummy. I think I'm going to do like one more night and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to put this in the freezer. Like, I don't need to eat all this bacon. It's just not necessary anymore. Like, don't be wrong. It does scratch the itch. I do love me some bacon. Can't lie. But, I definitely don't need it as much as I don't want it as much as I need, used to. I'll say that for sure. But anyway, we went to bed a little bit early, like an hour earlier before my bedtime usually. But luckily that really didn't affect my sleep. So I was able to sleep a full night. So that was nice. Got a cup of coffee in me, which was also nice. And then we went to work. Work was good. It was definitely busy. I feel like pretty much peak is hitting now in a way. So that's fun. But overall, it's not too bad as of right now, so that's good. Let's knock on wood. But we just stayed in a position. We crushed a lot of cardboard. I did get some help, a little bit of help towards the end of the day, so that was nice, I suppose. But overall it was a good day at work. Post work, we went to the gym. I will say, like, I'm always like very bittersweet mixed about how I feel about maintenance days, especially at the top of the week, because there's a part of me coming off of the end of, doing heavy sets. It's like, oh man, I wish I could just keep doing this, man. It'd be just so nice to just keep like lifting heavy. You could. But then once I get into it, especially like around my halfway point, I'm just like so happy that I'm not maxing out and like I'm giving my body at least some kind of rest, or at least I'm not hitting it as hard. So that's nice. I will say that. Just kind of resetting the clock or resetting the scale or the weights, whatever. I can't find a proper analogy here. But overall, it was a good workout. Busy, but not too busy. So I was able to get on all of my equipment, which I like. And no complaints. That was my day, because after that we came home, did some stretches, did our research, and now we're here yapping. That's how it goes. But yeah, let's go ahead and do our startup and let's get into some news. Got a good amount to cover for today. Ooh la la. Oh yeah. Yummy. All right, our first story comes from The Guardian. Palestinian gunmen kill 6 people at Jerusalem bus stop. Palestinian gunmen opened fire at a crowded bus stop in the northern outskirts of Jerusalem on Monday, killing 6 people and injuring 12 others, before being shot dead by an off-duty soldier and a civilian at the scene. The victims included a 79-year-old cardiologist, a 43-year-old rabbi, and a 25-year-old who had recently immigrated from Spain. 26 others suffered injuries, including 6 who were left in a serious condition with gunshot wounds. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited the site of the attack in Jerusalem with his far-right National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir. The war continues in Jerusalem as well, Netanyahu said. He later repeated calls for people in Gaza City to leave before an upcoming ground operation by Israeli forces. You have been warned. Get out of there, he said. Though people can't really leave, have left several times, and if they do go to a place, then it gets bombed. But that's an aside, I suppose. Let's see. I want to see if there's anything else I really wanted to pull here. No, not necessarily. I will say, though, Hamas praised 2 Palestinian resistance fighters who said it had carried out the attack, but stopped short of claiming responsibility. Islamic Jihad, another Palestinian militant group, also praised the shooting without claiming responsibility. Let's see here. And then one more thing I kind of wanted to hit from this article. On Monday evening, Wafa, the official news agency of the Palestinian Authority, said Israeli forces killed a 14-year-old Palestinian during a raid in Jenin in the north of the West Bank. There was no immediate confirmation of the report. We'll go ahead and move on, though, to our next story. Our next story is coming out of Reuters. We are going to Nepal. I want to go ahead, though, and read this whole article. I feel like it just gives context. It says it better than I could, and we're going into a subject that I really don't know too much about, which, I mean, definitely that's a call for me to try to, educate myself more and learn more about Nepal, especially when I work with so many people from Nepal. So maybe this is an opportunity for me to reach out, maybe learn some shit, maybe come back to this. But I kind of just want to stick to the article and read a lot of it. But yeah, anyway, from Reuters. 19 killed in Nepal in Jinzi protest over social media ban, corruption. At least 19 people in 2 cities died on Monday in Nepal's worst unrest in decades, authorities said, as police in the capital fired tear gas and rubber bullets at protesters trying to storm parliament in anger at a social media shutdown and corruption. Some of the protesters, most of them young, forced their way into the parliament complex in Kathmandu by breaking through a barricade, a local official said, setting fire to an ambulance and hurling objects at lines of riot police guarding the legislature. The police have been firing indiscriminately, one protester told the ANI news agency. They fired bullets which missed me but hit a friend who was standing behind me. He was hit in the hand. More than 100 people, including 28 police personnel, were receiving medical treatment for their injuries. Police officer Shekhar Kanal told Reuters. Protesters were ferrying the injured to hospital on motorcycles. A government decision last week to block access to several social media platforms, including Meta, Facebook, has fueled anger among the young. About 90% of Nepal's 30 million people use the internet. Officials said they imposed the ban because platforms failed to register with the authorities in a crackdown on misuse, including false social media accounts used to spread hate speech and fake news and commit fraud. But I really feel like what's really behind this is that they know so many people use the internet and they use it to communicate. They use it to organize, and they don't want to really have the people with that kind of tool. They want to cut that off, and that's a quick and easy way to do it. And so you just kind of drum this up and say, oh, these social media, platforms are bad, so we have to get rid of them, for the people's sake. And essentially you're depriving the people of the tool they're using to organize and just live their lives. Like, I think in any kind of situation, no matter what the fucking government, it's fucked up when you take away these kind of things. It's like, and I think the older generations can kind of look at this as like, oh, well, you're just taking away, their toys or something. Like, oh, it's just, young kids wanting to be on their phones. It's like, no, it's more than that. And even so, you should have the ability to be able to get on your phone and use it to its full capability. I think it's weird when any kind of government tries to infringe on that. But anyway, let's continue. 2 of the 19 people were killed when protests in the eastern city of Itahari turned violent, police said. Home Interior Minister Ramesh Likak I'm sure I'm fucking that up, but resigned from the government after taking moral responsibility for the violence. Another government minister who requested anonymity because he was not authorized to speak with the media told Reuters. Prime Minister KP Sharma Ali called an emergency cabinet meeting to discuss the unrest, which erupted after thousands of young people, including many wearing their school or college uniforms, took to the streets earlier on Monday. Many carried flags and placards with slogans such as "Shut down corruption" and "Not social media," "Unban social media," and "Use against corruption" as they marched through Kathmandu. Organizers of the protests, which spread to other cities in the Himalayan country, have called them demonstrations by Gen Z. They say the protests reflect young people's widespread frustration with the government's perceived lack of action to tackle corruption and boost economic opportunities. This is the protest by the new generation in Nepal, another protester told ANI. International nonprofit organization Human Rights Watch said the government of Nepal should avoid perceiving these protests primarily through a law enforcement perspective and recognize that demonstrators' mass outpourings of criticism reflect deep frustrations throughout Nepal with entrenched corruption, nepotism, and poor governance. It's just so crazy to hear this and just feel like there's just so many comparisons to like here in America or like insert, country here. And it's like, yeah, that's just got so much of that going on. And you just essentially have the youth saying like, yeah, like enough's enough of this shit, right? But let's continue. Sorry. Nonviolent means should be utilized before resorting to force, it said in a statement. The use of force is only appropriate if measures to address a genuine threat have proved ineffective. Police had orders to use water cannons, batons, and rubber bullets to control the crowd, and the army was deployed in the parliament area to bolster law enforcement officers. Mukatram Rajal, sure I'm fucking mea culpa, a spokesperson for the Kathmandu district office told Reuters. Violence abated later in the evening, although protesters remained in the area outside parliament. Police said similar protests were also held in Birath Nagar and Bratpatur. I'm just not even gonna try again. That's on me. In the Southern Plains and in Pokhara in Western Nepal. Many people in Nepal think corruption is rampant, and the Ali government has been criticized by opponents for failing to deliver on its promises to tackle graft or make progress to address long-standing economic issues. The Ali government has said the economy was recovering because of corrective measures it has taken. Thousands of young Nepals go abroad every year for work and education. Nepal has been politically unstable since it abolished a 239-year-old monarchy in 2008. That is very late. There have been 14 governments since 2008. Not one of which has completed a full 5-year term. Ali, 73, was sworn in to his fourth term last year. Rameshwari Kanal, a former finance secretary, said although job creation is not up to expectations, popular anger appears to stem from unhappiness with the government appointments and its inability to stamp out corruption. Though I'm thinking about this as I'm reading it, I truly feel like a big opiate here that would make people really fucking happy is if you could fix the economic woes that people are suffering. I think the longer people have to like wallow in that, the more they're going to just see like, yeah, you guys are clearly not doing anything and just getting paid. So yeah, we're mad and we're only going to get more mad about it. Like that just kind of makes sense. Nepal's social media shutdown comes as governments worldwide take steps to tighten oversight of social media and big tech due to growing concern about issues such as misinformation, data privacy, online harm, and national security. Critics say many of these measures risk stifling free expression, but regulators say stricter controls are needed to protect users and preserve social order. But once again, I truly do feel like the Nepalese government is using this to control and oppress people, not to like protect them and just for their well-being. And like, big tech needs to just like actually fix these issues. It's like, okay, good story, bro, but maybe you should listen to your people. But anyway, let's move on. Speaking of listening to the people, I guess speaking of political chaos, turmoil, we gotta go to France. Got a bit of an update coming out of, the prime minister situation. We got another fucking switcheroo coming up. It's crazy. It's been a crazy day. Oh man, excuse me, I had to take a water break. All right. From The Independent. France plunged into chaos as Prime Minister loses confidence vote. The French Parliament has voted to bring down the government over its plans to tame a ballooning national debt, plunging Europe's second largest economy into crisis after the Prime Minister was ousted. President Emmanuel Macron will be forced to search for a fifth prime minister in 12 months following an overwhelming 364 to 194 result against Francis Bayrou in a vote of confidence. Mr. Macron had indicated he wants to avoid another parliamentary election, and on Monday his office said he would name a new prime minister in the coming days. The next government's most pressing task will be to pass a budget, the same challenge Mr. Bayrou faced when he took office. Securing the backing of a very divided parliament will be equally hard. By calling a vote of confidence on August 25th, Mr. Bayrou had hoped it would rally support for his 44 billion euro or $38 billion, pound. I love all these little fun symbols that we don't use in America. Austerity plan for 2026. I can't complain, I know. The opposition, however, regarded Monday's vote as a referendum on whether Mr. Bayrou should remain as prime minister. So when this was like conveyed to me on the BBC, I was kind of chuckling to myself because Bayrou's pompous ass kind of was just getting frustrated, I think, and said, okay, let's play chicken. Let's just put this to a referendum. And they're like, okay, let's put you to a referendum then. Fine. Yeah, that's fine. You can go now. And then he kind of just had to sit in that like, well, all right, then we're done. It was, I guess, an all in nothing thing. To a certain extent, I get it, because if you've been going to the right, you've been going to the left, and neither side are capitulating enough to get what you're asking for, then you're like, I guess we have to force the issue. We're just kind of like treading water here. We're wasting time. And it was found to be wanting. Yeah, they're like, no, get the fuck out of here. So now Macron is forced to get another pick. We get into the weeds about the blah, 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 and the yada, yada, yada. Who is he going to pick? I don't know. He could go to the right. He could stay in the center. He could go to the left. My speculation, put my speculation hat on here, I don't think he's going to pick someone from the left. Just because every single time they go to do this, except for them keeping Marie Le Pen out of power, the right out of power, that's the only time they're willing to reach for the left and be like, hey, help us, let's do the coalition shit, let's work together. And then right after, like, you guys are so extreme, you just don't like this extreme stuff, extreme right, extreme left, they just never really want to work with them, yet you need them. So in this situation, the centrists are kind of just bullied as a minority. But who knows? He could pick someone out of the center. He could appease kind of like a 2/3 kind of thing. And this is kind of, once again, in my speculation, he's probably maybe going to pick someone on the right, which is kind of like, well, so we're just kind of giving up then, right? But who knows? I mean, dude is like a lame duck to what? I think 2027. I think I heard that listening to BBC. I might be getting that wrong, but I think I'm right. So it's like we have to just keep doing this spiral along. And it's crazy to go through this many prime ministers. I thought UK was bad with their fucking shit. And no, this is worse, I think. But I mean, I don't know, man. I got my tomatoes. I'm throwing them. It's fun. I don't like any of these picks. I think this is just annoying and frustrating to see. I'm sure the French people are not stoked about this because, once again, just kind of talking about up top, this is an economic issue. They have a national debt crisis that they are trying to tackle and fix. I mean, just like we have going on over here. You see all the fucking connections and correlations. The economy's still tough all over. Trump did not make this shit any better. So, people are scrambling to try to figure things out, but they're trying to figure things out along their ideological lines and all that bullshit and just getting nowhere. Wasting fucking time, kicking the football along. Or I don't know. Yeah, and if we can just say football, you can kick both in either one, either side of the pond. But yeah, we'll see how that goes throughout the week. I imagine they'll move quickly. Macron will move quickly to get a new pick in. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted. Anyway, we got a couple of trial updates to close out the episode, so we'll try to just mosey on through these. From the Guardian, Australia mushroom murderer Aaron Patterson sentenced to life in prison with a non-parole period of 33 years. Aaron Patterson has been sentenced to life imprisonment with a non-parole period of 33 years after murdering 3 people and attempting to murder a 4th with a lunch laced with death cap mushrooms. Justice Christopher Beale delivered the sentence during a live broadcast in the Victorian Supreme Court on Monday. I think this is apparently like a rare thing. They don't usually do this kind of thing, but they did it for this. They made an exception for Patterson. In July, after an 11-week trial, a jury found Patterson, 50, guilty of murdering Don and Gail Patterson, the parents of her estranged husband, Simon Patterson, and aunt, Heather Wilkinson. The jury also convicted Patterson of attempting to murder Heather's husband, Ian Wilkinson. Patterson hosted the guests at a lunch in July of 2023, deliberately feeding them beef Wellingtons laced with death cap mushrooms. So there's more details here. I think, yes, she's going to be eligible for parole. Patterson has already served 676 days in pre-sentence detention, the court heard. She will be 82 when she becomes eligible to apply for parole in 2056. Now, there is a chance for her to file an appeal. If there's anything that pops from that, then, we'll rally back to the story. But this might be where we kind of put the nail in the coffin, so to speak, as I like to say. Might be the end and closing of the chapter, if you will. The end of the death cap for cuties story. I don't know. That's what I'm calling it right now. Anyway, it's crazy. Like I said before, it is wild to go out by something so rich and decadent as a fucking beef welly. That's my dream, not to go out that way. Well, maybe if it was really yummy and I didn't go out in like a painful way. Like maybe it was just like a little tummy ache and I close my eyes and it's over. No, but like going out eating something so yummy and you thought you were just here for, a little lunch with your awkward, separated, what is it, daughter-in-law, I guess? Like, like this is like awkward, but we can just kind of get through it. It's fine. It'll be okay. And then you die. Or you're the surviving pastor or whatever. Like, it's just, that's such a sad, wild situation. Crazy how she went about trying to cover this shit up. But yeah, so it goes. Let's move on though to our last story. It was serious. It was definitely serious in the moment. I have my 2 cents that I want to leave on this, but yeah, let's go ahead and do our last break and we'll close it out. A bit of a side. I will say, it's feeling like hoodie season. I'm hoping. I've been rocking the hoodie, on and off throughout, like, since last week. Rocking it right now, so that's nice. Kind of like that for me. Anyway, from CNN. Ex-pilot accused of trying to cut a passenger's flight engine reaches plea deal, his lawyer says. A former Alaska Airlines pilot accused of trying to cut the engines of a passenger flight in 2023 while riding off-duty in the cockpit is due to enter guilty and no contest pleas in federal and state courts on Friday as part of agreements with prosecutors. Joseph Emerson reached the plea agreements because he wants to take responsibility for his actions and hopes to avoid further time behind bars, said his attorney Noah Horst. Now, I could have waited till like officially Friday, but I figured we just kind of preview this story. I'll probably leave it where it is unless it pops, again, and he makes some kind of change of heart. But Emerson was subdued by the flight crew after trying to cut the engines of a Horizon Air flight from Everett, Washington, to San Francisco on August 22nd, 2023. While he was riding in an extra seat in the cockpit, the plane was diverted to Portland, where it landed safely with more than 80 people on board. Emerson told police he was despondent over a friend's death, had taken psychedelic mushrooms about 2 days earlier, and hadn't slept in over 40 hours. He has said he believed he was dreaming at the time and that he was trying to wake himself up by grabbing 2 red handles that would have activated the plane's fire suppression system and cut off fuel to its engines. Now, I'm going to take the same pause here that I took when we covered this initially. I don't want to say I call no believesies on this. I just don't, it doesn't stick with me. Like, I think he was kind of cooked on this, and he was right to just take a plea, because, dude, this doesn't hold to me. As a person who has dabbled in the psychedelics, allegedly, maybe, in Minecraft, whatever, but you don't have an experience and then go 48 hours later, I'm still kind of feeling it, bro. And like, I get that we're doing a whole kind of like soul math here, and like his friend died and he hadn't slept and all these things. Okay, but that doesn't free you of responsibility. You're in a very privileged situation as a pilot, and you're able to, be in this, cockpit situation, this cockpit side seat, and you have this moment. And I mean, yes, it's a mental health crisis. Sure, you can call it that, yada, yada, yada. But once again, in my mind, this does not absolve you any guilt. I think this is still a criminal fucking issue. I think if you were still this racked, like he was already on this like kind of fucking trip anyway, like not psychotic trip, no, but like he was on like a trip with his friends, and that's when he decided to do the drugs or whatever, right? He could have then said, oh, I need to sleep this off or something. I mean, I get it, there's deadlines, but if you're this racked, if you're this to the max right now with guilt, or not guilt, but sorrow, whatever, you shouldn't be getting on a plane in this kind of situation, I guess, right? No, like if you can't sleep it off, brother, then yeah, I don't think you get to just bust out this excuse. So I really didn't like that. I still don't like that, but I get it. Legally, you're going to try to do what you can do what you need to do to get through that, get out of that, whatever. And maybe that is your truth and you're allowed to speak it, right? Who am I to say? But that, like I said, 2 cents, leaving that on the counter. Let's see. Emerson of Pleasant Hill, California, was charged in federal court with interfering with a flight crew. A state indictment in Oregon separately charged him with 83 counts of endangering another person and 1 count of endangering an aircraft. Let's see. On Friday, Emerson was expected to plead guilty to the federal count and no contest to the state charges, which carries the same legal effect as a guilty plea. Under the federal agreement, prosecutors can recommend that Emerson serve up to a year in prison, while his attorneys will ask that he serve no additional time. The conditions of the state agreement include 5 years of probation, 664 hours of community service, 8 hours for each person he endangered, and $60,569 in restitution. That's U.S. dollars, by the way. We're back in America. Nearly all of it to the Alaska Air Group, Horse said. Half of his community service can be performed at a pilot health nonprofit Emerson founded after his arrest. Well, that's nice. That's wholesome. He must also undergo assessments for drug and alcohol, a mental health treatment, refrain from using any non-prescribed drugs, and keep at least 25 feet or 7.6 meters away from operable aircraft unless he has permission from his probation officer. So yeah, there you go. There's that story. Like I said, if anything crazy happens there, we have any more diversions, then we'll come back. But I think that might be done as well. So there you go, a couple of updates to close out. A little bit of the courtroom. Anyway, that's it. That's all we got for Monday. If you'd like to help out, support the effort, I do have a Patreon. Patreon.com/IsaiahNews. Become a newsie today. Free ways to hit me up, IsaiahNews1@gmail.com. Feel free to follow me or the podcast on any of the socials. Subscribe to the YouTube. That's a free action. It helps out a lot. Follow on TikTok. Follow on Spotify. Follow on Apple Podcasts. Whatever platform you like to listen to. Whatever. I should be there. Hi. Hello. But yeah, leave a like, leave a cool comment. Sharing is caring. It can be fun, but leave all the stars on the Spotify or the Apple Podcasts. That's appreciated. But really, if you don't do any of those things and you've just been hanging out, you've just been lurking, that is a-okay with me. Hey, that's a pastime for me. I'm a lurker myself, okay? I watch live streams and sometimes I'll hit the follow when obviously someone's like there. And then sometimes my name is a little funky. And so they'll ask me to say it, or like, not say it obviously, but like, how do you pronounce that? Like, what are the phonetics? And I'm like, I'm not getting in the chat, man. Like, I'm just here. Let me vibe. Let me vibe silently. And if you're just here vibing silently, I appreciate you. Heart emojis to you. Anyway, I won't ever ask you to pronounce your name unless you want me to, and I'll try my best. You know I will. Anyway, that's it. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for being a friend. And hopefully I see you soon for some more good news. I love ya. Bye-bye. Mwah.